Good morning. It's a nerve-wracking morning this morning because we will hear the outcome of the case on education, the VAT court case. We will find out whether the judges went in favour or against the claimants who were arguing that adding VAT onto education is an abuse of their human rights, a violation of their human rights. I feel really nervous. I was talking to my daughter about it this morning and I said, how does this make you feel? And she said, I just think in all of this they've forgotten that we're humans and we're kids. And that really, really hit home with me. By the way, please do like and subscribe these videos. Share them. Let's share the wealth. Because they are humans, kids on both sides of the coin here. And what's happened is we've pitted kids against kids. We've got one sector of kids going up against another sector of kids for their education. And it turns out that it's actually not for their education. Keir Starmer tweeted on Wednesday that, in fact, any revenue raised will be going into housing. So all of this was to house what we're now told, asylum seekers. And it just, to me, highlights the morals of this government. It highlights what they will do, what they will not stop at, which is children. And, talking about it at the dinner table last night, and Tabitha said, well, I can't get a job because I'm 13, so I can't pay tax. So I guess the only way that I can pay tax is by paying with my actual education. Now, for a 13-year-old, I thought that was quite insightful. But she's absolutely right. If they can't get her financially, they'll just take away another thing from her, which is her education. And I've talked before about how for my daughter, being autistic and dyslexic, the dyslexia not so much of an issue about her environment, the autism massively an issue about her environment from a sensory perspective. To go into state school for Tabitha is just too much. She can't do it. And nor would I ask her to do it, nor would I ask her to develop a trauma response to something that sends her over the edge. Why would I do that? So for Tabitha, the choices are the school that she's in, where she's got some friends, she's doing really well, she's achieving her potential in an environment that we can manage and we can work and adjust with. When Bridget Phillipson talks about children not going into school, I wonder if it's ever crossed her mind that that might be an avoidance issue, that might be a sensory issue, that might be that it's just too much. I wonder whether she ever thought of that or whether she just thought kids couldn't be asked because they hadn't had a breakfast. There's so many gaps in Bridget Phillipson's knowledge about children, about the special educational scene, about what kids actually need. And she thinks it can be fixed with money. And of course, money is brilliant. Money does help the world go round, whether we like it or we loathe it. But of course, there is a little bit more to it than that. There's understanding, there's depth of knowledge, there's speaking to children, speaking to parents, speaking to teachers, understanding what those needs are, understanding that when there is an injection of money, where is it going to go? So the ruling today will rule against whether adding VAT on education in the specific cases will violate the specific cases' human rights. Whether I think it violates human rights, absolutely. Do I think it violates Tabitha's human rights to an education? 100%. Now, on the flip side of the coin, you're always going to get someone that says, well, it's all right for you because you can afford to put her through independent school, but what about those that can't? Well, first of all, your definition of affording and my definition of affording might be different. So my definition of an affording might be that it's that's where the money goes. There is nothing else. Your definition of affording may be, well, we probably could do it, but we don't want to. Or your definition of affording may be that it's just not physically possible. We don't have the money. There's always a scale. So if we sort of try and make this big assumption of what affordability is, that's where the first issue is. The second issue I find that I get a lot of the time is, well, what about the 94%? Well, okay, what about the 94%? For a start, out of that 94%, are we genuinely, honestly saying that all of them are receiving a substandard education? Are we genuinely, honestly saying that in that 94% are not getting the education they deserve? Because that's categorically untrue. We know that with a case study of the Starmer's children and the Phillipson children who are in Ofsted outstanding schools and are achieving amazing things. So we know that state education does work for a certain sector of children who happen to live in the right catchment area of the right school. Now we know that that's not fair and that's not equal because we know that lots of people can't afford to live in those areas because they have been priced out of the market because the school is so good. So we know there's inequality there. But what's anyone doing about that in the state sector? So again, I hear an awful lot of shut up and just pay your taxes, why can't you? And I'm like, well, hang on a minute, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing to further the state system? Are you putting your hand in your pocket as well? Or does that just come from me? Because I know, and the stats and the graphs and the figures have proven, that there are wealthier parents in the state system than there are, percentagely, proportionately, than in the independent sector. So why is it that a minority sector are being asked to pay for the regeneration of the majority sector, even though we know that they won't be able to raise the capital, but the majority sector has more capacity to raise that capital? We don't, but yet we're being asked. So when we know that there's less money in the pot that we're raiding, why are we raiding it? Well, we're raiding it because we don't want those children to have an independent education, because it doesn't align with Keir Starmer and Bridget Phillipson and Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner's and Ellie Reeves and Stephen Morgan and Jonathan Brash's, the list goes on. It doesn't align with their principles. But because it doesn't align with their principles, does it make it wrong for your children and for my children? And I take it back to my daughter this morning. Well, I have human rights too. And she does have human rights too. And so do I, as her mother, and as the person who advocates for her, and as the person who, alongside her dad, decides that we feel this is the right thing for you. And we feel as though to give you the best shot in life, we are going to do this. And it is going to mean significant changes in our life, but we're prepared to do that because that's our choice. We're not asking the state for any help. We're releasing funds in the state by you not using your place. We're not asking anyone for any help. We just want to go along quietly, getting on with educating our children. And now that comes at a premium. So let's see where we end up. Can I say the flowers were bought for me yesterday by my other half. He bought me flowers, chocolate and 2 minty lamb burgers. I said, that sounds like a guilty conscience to me, but if you want to be guilty every Thursday, that's brilliant, crack on. So thank you, Aldi. Thank you to my other half for the flowers, and fingers crossed for the right outcome today, the morally right outcome, which is putting children's needs, all of children's needs, not just 94%, 100% of children's needs at the top of the agenda. When we've got that bit right, the rest will fall into place.